watching CramerSez.
Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who leads Senate Democrats, let's hear what he's saying.
And making every day harder for American families. Because of Republicans, Americans are going to suffer immensely as this health care crisis gets worse. Democrats have been fighting to end this crisis over and over again. Democrats have wanted to lower costs, but Republicans fought us every step of the way. We gave Republicans not one, not two, but 3 chances this year to extend the ACA premium tax credits. Republicans said no every time. On Friday, we offered Republicans a compromise, a proposal that would extend the ACA tax credits for a year and open up the government at the same time. They once again said no. And when they said no on our compromise, they showed that they are against any health care reform. Instead, they passed the biggest health care cuts in our nation's history just to give tax breaks to billionaires. And even then, they weren't satisfied with merely closing hospitals and community health clinics. They callously did nothing to deal with the looming crisis of ACA credits. Premiums will spike by thousands of dollars a month. Millions will lose insurance. Democrats have sounded the alarm. We have demanded for months to meet with the Republican leadership. But Republican leaders refuse to even discuss the issue, let alone negotiate it. We've asked them to meet in the summer and throughout the shutdown. To this day, Republicans still say no. We asked President Trump to step in and meet with us to deliver lower health care for Americans, and instead, Donald Trump has taken the American people hostage, from cutting off food aid to hungry families and vets and seniors and kids, to manufacturing flight cancellations, to cutting off home heating aid, while he builds a billion-dollar ballroom with gold-plated toilets. Therefore, I must vote no. This health care crisis is so severe, so urgent, so devastating for families back home that I cannot in good faith support this CR that fails to address the health care crisis. But let me be clear. However this vote turns out, this fight will and must continue. Democrats must fight because millions of families will lose health care coverage. We must fight because children who are dying of cancer will not get health care coverage. We must fight because a senior citizen cannot afford to pay $25,000 a year just for health insurance. We must fight to keep millions from financial ruin. And make no mistake about it, the American people know who is inflicting this health care trauma on them: Donald Trump and the Republicans. Americans will remember Republican intransigence every time they make a sky-high payment on health insurance. So we are going to fight legislatively, fight back home, fight in the courts, and bring this fight in the elections. Health care costs made a major impact on the 2025 election, and they will certainly have an even greater impact on the 2026 election. So in conclusion, the contrast between the two parties is crystal clear. Republicans are the party hell-bent on taking people's health care away, all to bow to the billionaire elite and special interests. Democrats are united as the party of lower health care costs and improving our health care system. We will not give up this fight. We will deliver for the American people. I yield the floor.
All right, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer there saying what we already knew, which is that he will not be voting to advance this deal. He says that it fails to address the health crisis in this country. But our reporting indicates that as of right now, there are enough Democrats who will join Republicans. This is Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who I do think we should also listen to. Let's listen to what he's saying.
To the fact that our staffs have been working without pay for a full 40 days now. All of us, Republicans and Democrats who support this bill, know that the time to act is now. And so in just a few minutes, I will call up the vehicle for a clean continuing resolution packaged with 3 bipartisan year-long appropriations bills: agricultural appropriations, military construction, VA appropriations, and legislative branch appropriations. These bills will fund SNAP for the entire fiscal year. They will fund WIC for the entire fiscal year, and they will fund our veterans for the entire fiscal year. After 40 days of uncertainty, I'm profoundly glad to be able to announce that nutrition programs, our veterans, and other critical priorities will have their full-year funding. And my goal is to quickly move to other full-year appropriations bills. As I've said many times, I firmly believe that the way to fund the government is by passing appropriations bills through regular order, a process that gives senators from both parties the fullest chance to make their voices heard. Mr. President, I also want to mention health care. There's been a lot of talk over the last several weeks on both sides of the aisle about the health care crisis in this country. And I'm thankful to be able to say that we have senators, both Democrat and Republican, who are eager to get to work to address that crisis in a bipartisan way. These senators are not interested in political games. They're interested in finding real ways to address health care costs for American families. We also have a president who is willing to sit down and get to work on this issue. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what solutions might be brought forward. Regardless, as I have said for weeks to my Democrat friends, I will schedule a vote on their proposal, and I've committed to having that vote no later than the second week in December. Mr. President, again, I am optimistic that after almost 6 weeks of this shutdown, we'll finally be able to end it. I will call up that bill in a matter of minutes, and I look forward to passing the clean continuing resolution and appropriations bill package in the very near future. Now, Mr. President, I move to proceed to the motion to reconsider the cloture vote on October 16th on the motion to proceed to H.R. 5371.
The questions on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Others no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is agreed to.
Mr. President, I move to consider the cloture vote motion to proceed to H.R. 5371.
The questions on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion's agreed to. The clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the motion to proceed to Calendar 168, H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extensions for fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes.
Under the previous order, the mandatory quorum call under Rule 22 has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the motion to proceed to H.R. 5371, an act making continuing appropriations and extensions for fiscal year 2026 and for other purposes, shall be brought to a close upon reconsideration? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks. Ms. Baldwin. Mr. Banks. Mr. Basso. Mr. Bennett. Mrs. Blackburn. Thank you.
All right, you are watching live on the Senate floor right now as the Senate votes on the first procedural vote in potentially reopening the government. And again, there are going to be a number of votes. So just to level set here, this first one will advance a plan that reopens the government. Now, the Democrats have blocked a similar vote 14 times since the government has been shut down. And our reporting indicates at this time that there are enough Democrats to join Republicans to move forward with this. If that happens, if they get to 60, that's the magic number there, it unlocks all of these steps that they'll be able to take to then get to this deal, to voting on this deal that they've come to reopen the government, which would then have to go to the House. So there's still a lot of steps ahead of us, but this is a really key vote. And what you want to watch for on this vote is which Democrats join Republicans in unlocking this process. So that is what we are keeping an eye on now. The clerk is calling the roll. This typically takes a bit of time. However, sometimes on a Sunday night when they're not normally in session, you see how many senators are in there. They don't have to wrangle them as much. So it could go a bit faster than we're used to. I believe we have David Urban with us, a Republican strategist, and of course, Karen Finney, CNN political commentator, is with us as well. Is Manu, we're going to check in with Manu as soon as we can get him, but he is also there on the Hill tracking this as well. Let's bring in David and Karen as, again, we're watching the Senate floor for this key vote to start. Karen, I want to start with you because, look, Democrats are not in agreement. We just heard from the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, who's not supporting this. We, as I've said, our reporting indicates that there are some Democrats that will, enough to get to 60. Walk people through the really kind of the back and forth between Senate Democrats, but more broadly the Democratic Party right now on whether this is a good move.
Look, I think there's going to be some division on this, and we're already starting to see that. I mean, as you pointed out, we just saw that from Chuck Schumer. We know going into the weekend, obviously there were negotiations started to intensify. I think people were really starting to feel the heat given the very real pain that this has been causing Americans, not just in the airports, but people who are going without a paycheck. And so these negotiations intensified over the weekend. And I think there's some real disagreement about whether or not where we go from here in terms of health care. Obviously, from the Senate side, there seems to be an agreement, and we have to just take it on faith that John Thune will be a man of his word and have this, if this passes, have this vote on health care and do the work to have conversations about lowering health care costs. I think the positive side, I think Democrats feel like they have made Republicans own this issue and really raised the importance of this issue. I mean, many of us right now are evaluating our health care costs. At the same time, there's real disappointment. I'm not going to try to, I'm not going to spin that, right? There is real disappointment that instead of what was posed by Senator Schumer on Friday, which would have tied reopening of the government with the extension of the healthcare subsidies, that unfortunately that's not part of this agreement. And I will also add that I think there's also some question about what will House Democrats do? What will the House Leader Johnson actually do? Will he agree to also hold a vote? Just because the Senate does it doesn't mean the House is going to do it. So I think there are a lot of questions still roaming around that are part of this this dissatisfaction and this sort of disagreement among Democrats.
Yeah. And look, David and I talked a little bit earlier as well. And I wonder, too, David, to your point you were making earlier, you were making the point that how is this different than what could have been done several weeks ago?
Yeah. Yeah, so my point remains the same, and it's remained the same. There was an entire shutdown, this 6-week period where Americans suffered pain, economic pain, fear, uncertainty, all because of one man. That man you saw in the glasses earlier on, the minority leader, the Senate, Chuck Schumer, his fear of facing a primary, the lack of his internal fortitude of just doing what he's there to do, to pass bills and keep the government open. He could have, if he'd have done the clean CR, just like they're doing tonight, the CR plus these spending packages, Republicans, as Karen says, everybody in America wants to see health costs go down. Nobody wants to see health costs continue to rise. What Chuck Schumer's plan was, let's just throw some more money at it. So they'll get a vote. Democrats will get a vote on their plan. I doubt it's going to pass. And then Democrats and Republicans are going to have to work together to try to figure out how to reduce health care costs. Health care costs in America are too high. Americans are paying too much for health care. If you look at the S&P compared to what the profits of the major healthcare companies are in America, it's pretty startling. So I think that cost curve is going to have to get bent. And I would just go back, Justin, and say, what is different about vote number 15 than was different than vote number 1 that Chuck Schumer could have done? And listen, he could have hung this healthcare debate around Republicans' neck 6 weeks ago, as opposed to tonight. He put Americans through a great deal of suffering. Shame on him.
Okay, I want to come back to both of you, but we do have our chief congressional correspondent, Manu Raju, who is standing by, who can give us some of the more logistics and details about all of this. Manu, we're watching the Senate floor as we're talking with you. I'm curious to watch which Democrats, obviously, are gonna side with Republicans. What are you watching for, and what happens now?
Yeah, and then that's why I'm actually looking at my phone right now, because I'm getting texts, I'm seeing statements about various Democrats how they'll vote on this, because that is the big question. That is what we are watching at this critical moment, whether or not there will be enough Democrats. That we need 8 Democrats, assuming Rand Paul of Kentucky, the Republican, votes no, as he's voted 14 times already with Democrats to block the funding bill to reopen the government, which means in the 53-47 Senate, 8 Democrats will be necessary.
You're watching CramerSez.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on them. Let me grab my mic here. I didn't get it hooked up. But let me grab my mic here real quick. We'll keep an eye on the news channels. Fox News, for whatever reason, has been slow to respond to this, but I think it's interesting that it looks like the Democrats have caved, and that I don't have the name yet of the Democrat who's crossed the aisle, but we've got a defector on the Democrats that I think realize the situation that the nation is in. And it's important to understand that they are as concerned about lowering health care costs today as they were when they were in power. You see, that's what the ACA was all about, remember? That's what the whole thing was about. It was supposed to bring down health care costs. And here we are, your health care being used as ransom. That's what this whole thing has been about. And now, thank God, they're caving, because what it was going to mean is like a $32 to $36 billion package being sent directly. That's just cash right out of our pockets, straight to the insurance companies. You're starting to get it now? You're starting to understand? This is why we've been screaming so loud for so long. I don't probably have any audio there. Do I have audio there? I don't have anything open. I don't think. Can you hear me? You probably can't hear me, can you? You're supposed to be able to hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah, you should be able to hear me. Okay. Someone said they couldn't hear me. Can you hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay. I don't know what that comment was about. Anyway, I would say turn up your speaker. We are looking at a situation where the Democrats are setting themselves up for 2026 and 2028. That's what this is all about. They have no other power. They have no other leverage, and so this is what they had to do. They had to show their base that they would go and fight with all their might. And where are we? Families screaming and yelling about not being able to pay their bills. Our federal employees scrambling to see how they're going to earn. Imagine you've worked your shift as a federal law enforcement officer, and then you've got to run DoorDash for another 4 to 6 hours to make ends meet. That's what our folks have been up to. So we've got, we've got to keep things in mind, folks. We've got to understand that the situation that we're in right now cannot be shifted from the Democrats to the Republicans. The Republicans had nothing to do with this. They've been saying the exact same thing the entire time. Clean resolution with the spending packages for security. Democrats said that wasn't a clean resolution. Well, they begged and begged and begged and begged and begged and begged and begged. In fact, they said it was so important that even if there was a government shutdown, those things needed to be put in. Remember when they were screaming for security, especially after Charlie Kirk's assassination? Yeah, we need more security, more security, more security, more security. Mike Johnson, the Republicans, gave it. They said, you know what? It's probably a good idea. We need security for all of us. And then the Democrats turned around and used that olive branch as a weapon. This is what we're fighting against, folks. This is what we're fighting against. We'll join back with CNN or Fox News or whoever else is covering it right after this. We'll see you in just a moment. Oh, we got to do that.
It was U.S. aid that I fear much more than the CIA, because the U.S. aid is how CIA gets shit done.
USAID is clearly in the job of trying to bring about regime change. It has secret bank accounts, shell companies.
USAID gets $50 billion a year in U.S. taxpayer money. That's a larger overt fund than the CIA has.
USAID perhaps is the new CIA.
Have we ever tried to meddle in other countries' elections?
Oh, probably.
This is not just about over there. This is about here.
They have a process, a system by which they destroy other nations. And they use that same process and system in order to destroy the United States.
It's a plot against our own.
I mean, I haven't heard about this since, like, Monopoly with a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Trump has discussed with advisors whether to grant preemptive pardons What does that say? That he wants to excuse them for things before anybody's even saying there's an investigation.
President Trump, as he winds down his last few weeks in office, is considering preemptive pardons. What a mess. More as we know.
Source saying that some of the president's inner circle, well, they're telling him that it would be perfectly fine to pardon his family and other associates preemptively, even though they haven't been charged with any crimes. How much damage could be done to this country can he do to this country on his way out?
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you? All these preemptive pardons?
Well, it concerns me in terms of what kind of precedent it sets and how the rest of the world looks at us as a nation of laws and justice. You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons, nor are you going to see in our administration the approach to making policy by tweets. It's just going to be a totally different way in which we approach the justice system.
I don't know if she'll see it, but just in case she does, hey, Pam Bondi, when can we expect perp walks to begin? When can we expect to see handcuffs on people? When can we expect to see more action than talk? America wants to know. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
From the halls of Congress,
Across the nation.
and around the globe.
You're getting the latest news and conservative views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
Call it the wedding of the woke. Billionaire heir Alex Soros just tied the knot with Hillary Clinton's longtime enforcer, Huma Abedin, in an ultra-exclusive ceremony that was about as subtle as a BLM riot with bottle service.
It was quite an event. It took place on Shelter Island, which is off Long Island. You can't get there unless you're very rich. The event was attended by two former presidents, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, and of course, Hillary was there.
Translation: if you don't own a private jet, you're not on the guest list.
This event took place behind a phalanx of security, ironically, on Saturday, the same day when the Soros Foundations were bankrolling the so-called No Kings demonstrations around the country.
You heard that right. While the elite were toasting with Veuve Clicquot, Soros-backed protests were lighting up the streets. Because nothing says no kings like a family that buys district attorneys and throws $14 million weddings guarded like a royal fortress.
This violence in the streets, well, it's not spontaneous, and the American people deserve to know who's behind it.
While the media gushes over the dress, the venue, and the guest list, NLPC is tracking the dollars, right from the Soros empire to the streets.
We are identifying the money flows between the Soros Foundation and the activists who are conducting these protests.
You may not know our name, but since 1991, the National Legal and Policy Center has investigated and exposed more crime and corruption than any other political watchdog group in the country. Period.
And with your help, we're going to get at the truth.
Like, follow, and share to be notified about any updates on this story and more. Or get in-depth reporting from the National Legal and Policy Center at nlpc.org.
To learn more about the CramerSez Project, our mission, and how you can become a part of it, please visit thecramersezproject.com.
You're watching CramerSez.
Stand-up individual his entire time in the Senate, and so congratulations to him for casting that 60th vote and breaking the tie here. Number two, I can't imagine just sitting at home right now if you are a federal employee or if somebody who's a SNAP recipient or a WIC recipient now knowing that those benefits are going to flow, that you're going to get a paycheck now. You can exhale. You can not worry that your Christmas, your Thanksgiving is going to be ruined. You don't know where the money's going to come from to pay your rent. All those things are going to start flowing now, and that's a very good thing. And when the government shut down, that shows that it's a failure of both parties, both Democrats and Republicans, to reach a consensus. So I think lots of people should be happy tonight. And again, congratulations to John Fetterman for breaking that tie.
Yeah. Karen, if you're a House Democrat right now, what are you thinking? And it probably depends on what your district looks like, obviously, and kind of where you fall on progressive to centrist. But what do you think House Democrats are feeling tonight?
Well, I just want to infuse into this conversation that I heard you mention online not being, the real world earlier. You're right. What I've been seeing online and frankly in some of the group chats I'm in, that there are people who have, gone without a paycheck who are saying, wait a second, did I get health care? Did we get that done? Is that what, kind of questioning, wait a second, what are we really getting? And I suspect that House members are getting those calls and being asked right now to explain what's in this deal. What is this going to mean? And I think, again, as we look at the package of the 3 bills that Senator Thune was talking about that are going to also be presented and passed, the House is going to have to take a look at what's really what devil is in the details. And what assurances, if any, because now the negotiating will go to Hakeem Jeffries and Democrats in the House, as you pointed out, to try to negotiate with the Republicans to see if they can also get an agreement, perhaps, or more. I doubt they will because, Johnson seems to do whatever Donald Trump says. But whether or not they can get some kind of agreement for negotiations, a conversation, something with regard to lowering healthcare costs. Because again, I want to point out one of the things about this deal in the Senate, it is only in the Senate that has agreed to have a conversation about healthcare. There is not an agreement in the House. So that, if you're Hakeem Jeffries, if you're in leadership, you're looking at how are you going to put that front and center in the conversations that you'll likely be having in the coming days.
Yeah, and those will be interesting to watch. Okay, again.
Yeah, I would just say this, Jess, real quickly. Here's how they're going to present. Here's what the Speaker, Minority Leader Jeffries could say. It is a full year funding for the Veterans Administration and for veterans. Full year, not a CR, not a short CR, but a full year bill. Full year bill for WIC. Full year bill for SNAP. So if the Democrats in the House vote against those things, shame on them.
Costs won't be going down.
All right, but you're gonna vote against those things as a Democrat? Crazy.
Okay, we do have to put a pin in it.
But is the House?
I have to put a pin in it because we do have to get a break in, but don't worry, we've got plenty more on the other side. We will talk much more about this. Again, you're looking live at the Senate floor as the Democratic filibuster has been broken. We have so far reached 60. We're waiting for the official count, but right now, 60 votes that would unlock moving forward with this plan to reopen the government on the Senate side. A quick break, more on the other side.
Prime Minister.
You're watching CramerSez.
Well, isn't this interesting? Here we are. What happened is they caved, folks. They had to. They realized that they couldn't harm their people. What they were trying to do is they were trying to convince their base that Republicans were responsible for making Democrats shut down the government. It's almost like, when the abuser tries to tell the child, your mom makes me beat her. That's what the Democrats were trying to do to their base. John Fetterman steps forward and says, okay, enough is enough. And maybe, folks, I don't know, John has shocked us all, I think. Right? We didn't think much about him entering in when he first came in. He has the stroke. We probably made a couple jokes here and there about it. But sadly, you do those things. But John has come around. John has proven that he is... he's thinking about his constituents first and party second. Don't you wish they all did that? John Fetterman is setting an example, all of them to begin following, that the people that I represent, their best interest comes before the party does. The interest of the country comes before party does. They're going to primary Fetterman. They're not going to let this continue. He's done. Democrats will not allow this guy to come in here and vote like he has, be the tiebreaker on this issue. No, he's done. Maybe that's what he wanted. But this is where we are in America, folks. This is where we are. We'll get back to the show here when they come back. They're in a commercial break here. I think it's interesting. I gave a speech last night with the Hoosier Freedom Caucus, a grassroots group that works out throughout Indiana. We met in Mooresville, Indiana last night. And, you know, it's interesting. We talked about how did we get to this place in history, and it's apathy. We're where we are because of apathy. We have expected someone else to go do our fighting for us. We've taken our freedoms for granted for so long that we expect somebody else to go defend our rights and our freedoms and our liberties. That's how we got here. We got here because we thought that we could trust these people, give them great authority, great power. Well, what we've learned time and time again, if COVID didn't teach you anything, it should have taught you this. You can judge a person, you can learn a lot about a person after you give them just a little bit of power. That's what you can learn. Let's get back to what's going on over there on CNN and see what they're talking about, and then we'll wrap it up if they don't have anything new. We're waiting on the official tally. Let's go back. Let me see if I do this right. I think I do this right like this.
Newsroom. Hi, everyone. I am Jessica Dean in New York tonight, and we do have breaking news from the Senate floor, a rare Sunday Senate session. You are looking live as senators vote on a key procedural vote to move forward with this plan to reopen the government and extend government funding. We do know, again, waiting for the official tally, but as we've been watching the senators vote, which is ongoing, we have gotten to the magic number of 60. That breaks the Democratic filibuster, which is what has been holding this up, of course, as the government has been shut down for the longest shutdown in history, 40 days. This has been voted on 14 times. This is the 15th time, and this time it appears there are 60 votes to break that filibuster. Now, there is some discontent within the Democratic Party. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer not supporting this legislation. The House Minority Leader, where this legislation will ultimately go, Hakeem Jeffries, not supporting this legislation. Other Democrats, though, joining with Republicans, saying that this is a good deal. They are assured a vote on these tax subsidies and that there are other provisions they feel good about. So we watch to see, we know 8 Democrats so far having voted with Republicans. If there will be more Democrats, we have a team of reporters with us tonight. Our chief congressional correspondent Manu Raju is with us. Senior White House reporter Betsy Klein is with us. Karen Finney is with us. Doug Heye is with us. An all-star team as we walk through all of this. I do want to start with Manu because, Manu, you're there in the action watching this all unfold. Last we spoke, 8 Democrats had voted for this. Where do things stand now?
Yeah, 8 Democrats still, and then looks like it's still at 8 Democrats. This is happening in real time, and that is the magic number that is needed for this government shutdown, essentially to end within a matter of days because of the math that requires, with the expectation that Rand Paul, the Republican, will vote no on this bill. That means in the 53-47 Republican-led Senate, 8 Democrats are going to be needed to break a filibuster, and they are on track to do just that, to the relief of so many Americans who have been hit so hard by this damaging shutdown, this crisis that has led millions of Americans now worried about even getting their food stamp benefits, hundreds of thousands of federal workers not getting their paychecks, all flights across the country being delayed and canceled and the like with no end in sight. But because of a bipartisan deal that was reached between largely rank and file senators on both sides of the aisle, despite the opposition of Democratic leaders, that deal is now moving ahead and is now poised to pass the United States Senate, likely within a matter of days, maybe even as soon as tonight in the United States House, within a couple of days, expected to go to the president's desk then. But this critical vote sets the stage for all of that. Now, this comes after days of furious negotiations behind the scenes with these members from both sides of the aisle, trying to figure out how to fund the federal government and deal with the chief Democratic concern about the rise in healthcare premiums as a result of the expiring subsidies that were bust up during the COVID era for under the Affordable Care Act. Those subsidies set to expire at year's end. Democrats demanding initially that this be tied to the funding package. But President Trump, in particular, in recent days, has taken a very hard line against extending those Obamacare subsidies. And I'm told that by my sources up here that changed the dynamic on Capitol Hill. A lot of those Democratic senators who had hoped that Trump potentially...
You're watching CramerSez.
All right. Enough of that propaganda. We're done with the propaganda. Thank you. So you've seen it. It looks like we've met the threshold and that the government shutdown will be over. And what you're going to see now is you're going to see the Democrats spin on how they were the saviors, that they came in and they took care of it. Now, what I want you to remember, what I want you to recall from that newscast is that they said that it was the Democrats that were holding it all up. That the Democrats caved. It was the Democrats holding it all up. Republicans had nothing to do with this shutdown. The Republicans had nothing to do with the shutdown. They voted 14 times. The extra spending that they put in was approved tonight. That's the extra spending for the Capitol Police, for their security. They had all agreed upon that before all of this. Democrats were given an olive branch and they used it to beat their base. They used it to beat those most in need. They used it to beat federal employees who have been suffering for the last 40 days. The Democrats did this. That's what that report was just saying. They were trying to find out how to parse their words so their base didn't catch on that what happened was Democrats held them hostage. All that suffering that he was talking about, Democrats did that. The Republicans offered the same deal on the first vote that they offered tonight. It took one Democrat, just one to cross the line and say, okay, I'm going to do the right thing for my constituents. I'm going to get a whipping from the party, but I'm ready to do this. Or he was the sacrificial lamb. He's going to be gone anyway. They're going to primary him. He's already going to be gone. He realizes that, and this is where he could do something. John Fetterman stepping forward for the W. Puts us over the line, it looks like. So with that being said, I am out of here. Thanks for jumping in, and I'm going to jump out. We will keep an eye on this, and if anything changes, we will come back on and let you know. Until then, see you next time.
Thank you for watching Kramer Says Live.
This concludes this broadcast.
Please follow, like, and subscribe to be notified the next time
The CramerSez project goes live.